Hello and welcome back to another episode of LMScast. My name is Chris Badgett and I'm joined by a special guest, Avery White from thirdpersoncreative.com. Welcome to the show, Avery.
Hey, thank you so much, Chris. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here, man.
Yeah, I'm stoked to have you. Avery is using our software called LifterLMS. He's living abroad in Thailand.
Correct.
And he's serving a market and has a big vision and mission, and it has created an ecosystem online. And we're really going to dig into his story, how courses fit into that, and how he's figuring all this out. First off, can you tell us who is the target market for not just your courses, but your blog and your forums and your projects that you have on the internet?
Yeah, absolutely. So the blog is targeted at creatives. So whether you are a writer or a photographer, a videographer, a dancer, a carpenter, a poet, whatever, that you are the target audience. And the goal of each blog post is to either highlight an existing story that's already out there. It could be something that's unique to a television show. The post that I actually published just recently looked at 3 different commercial campaigns. One was done by the train system in Australia. They ran this they studied virality for a little bit, and they launched this campaign that they did go viral, and it helped to spread awareness about train safety. And so it was like this, and it totally didn't work. It totally shouldn't work, but it did. And the title of it is Dumb Ways to Die. And so it's this really catchy, cheesy cheeseball jingle, but it works and people thought it was hilarious. And so it kind of caught on. Or I look for collisions, where you have maybe like culture intersects language. So I've done a piece on Google Translate. So as Chris mentioned, I do live in Thailand. I'm learning Thai very slowly with some tutors. And I wanted to look at, okay, how does Google Translate handle something very simple? And discovered that it makes about 4 mistakes right out of the gate. Some of them are kind of serious. And so just looking at, okay, this is where language and culture intersect. And so I'm hoping that kind of the synthesis of these blog posts can go on to help inspire creatives to create in their own art and get them thinking about other mediums, because I think there's a lot to be learned. As a writer, I know I have a lot to learn from a dancer or a photographer or, a sculptor. Like I can learn from that. And so it's calling those things that are to be learned out and saying, okay, well, what is it? Let's talk about it and let's really get into the light.
Let's talk a little bit about serving a big niche. So if you look at artists or creatives in general,
yeah,
a lot of the conventional wisdom or common advice has to do with like riches and niches or whatever, or just focus on a sub niche. Why not just sculpture? Why not just the craft of writing? How and why do you approach the greater creative artistic community as a whole, as opposed to a niche within it?
Right. So the foci, I think is the plural. The foci shifts per post. So maybe one post I talk about the intersection between music and videography. That's out there. That's like every YouTube video, music video out ever. It's a very common collision that I think most people are familiar with. But you can also talk about writing and culture. If you want to talk about the effect of Harry Potter on children's literature, now you're getting into, okay, this is a piece of literature that affected an entire generation of people and affected an entire class of writers. And now you have, a lot more books about magic. You have a lot more, if you're into the publishing world, you hear a lot more queries about magic. You get a lot more just traction there, and people trying to write into that world. Not specifically, the Harry Potter world, but the magic realm, and expanding fantasy in that regard. So it's a challenge because I have to think, okay, if you take out, if you zoom out a little bit, what are the things that are common to all creatives? Okay, so you can start talking about some of the obstacles that creatives share, right? So all creatives share like some kind of creative block. Writers have writer's block. Maybe a photographer can't figure out what he wants to shoot that day, or maybe the weather is against him or something. You can talk about maybe a sculptor kind of hitting the same kind of creative slump of, man, everything just kind of feels the same. So you can talk about creative blocks. You can talk about inspiration. So the things that inspire creative types are often very similar. There's a lot of connections that you can draw there. And then the things that I think all creatives kind of go, oh, wow, that's actually kind of cool. Let's look at that. Like what is that? That's something that you can work with as well. So you want to find things that make people go, huh? And you want to find things that make people go, oh man, this is way too hard. I can't do it. I'm not enough. I'm not good enough, whatever. So, okay, there's like a skill level. So you got skill as an option, you got inspiration as an option. And then the last thing that I think really combines creativity, and I would say is even the hinge pin of third person creative, is storytelling. If I show you a picture of, a plant, like a still life kind of shot, you can only derive so much story. But if I were to show you a picture of a girl on a train, and let's say she's got her hand up against the glass, and outside is this blurry picture of this guy that's running to try to keep up with the train, but it's a still shot. That's a story. You have a protagonist who's trying to get the girl. You have an antagonist, which is this, this circumstance keeping them apart. You have a story, and that's just in a that's just in a photo. Of course you have story in writing. Of course you have story in sculpture. Of course you have story in painting and in all these other mediums where it's more obvious. So a question that I love to ask other creatives is, what are the themes of the stories you're trying to tell? You can talk about mood. Music has a mood, right? Sure. Painting has a mood. Photography has a mood. You can talk about lighting. If I you walked out of movies before, like if you ever watched Batman Dark Knight Rises, and you can say, man, that was a dark movie. Well, people know what you mean by that, but you can also look at a photo and go, well, this photo is really underexposed. It's dark. Well, now you've used the same language to describe two extremely different creative mediums, but people always know what you're talking about. So there's bridges like that are all over the place. But from me, I couldn't, when I looked at the internet, I was like, man, I can't really find anyone talking about that. What are those bridges? And so that's kind of where third person creative came out of, and what I'm really seeking to want to talk about.
That's awesome. And I'm 100% with you. I think we're kind of outnumbered. I'm very much a big picture thinker. My background is in anthropology. Even things like education and technology and marketing and things like that, these are all sub niches of humanity. So I pretty much everything is anthropology. So I can go off into whatever. My work and my business and this podcast is focused on a particular niche, but I'm very much a big picture thinker, which like you. So I appreciate what you're saying about building those bridges. And I think when you naturally see those in a big niche done well, it's a big opportunity because the market can be so huge. You're not just targeting sculptors or painters or dance or writers or whatever. You're kind of having the conversation above the conversation, or the meta.
Right. The meta. Yeah.
The meta bridge builder. It's awesome. Also in our pre-chat, you mentioned there's a theme of storytelling, but also towards to fight for a cause or some kind of change. Could you speak a little bit to not just storytelling for storytelling's sake, but is there is there something, what's the battle that's waging that you want your project to be a part of, or what types of greater purpose are these stories serving?
Yeah, no, that's good. So I don't remember. I was following some a blogger I think out there that I was listening to, and he talked about creating revolutions, not just wanting to create a website, but starting a revolution. And what I think has a lot more potential, you know, than your average Facebook troll, for sure. But when people want to talk about creating change in the world around them, there's a lot of weapons that people like to pick up. You know, they can, obviously there's the obvious ones of let's go get our, pitches and torch forks, to spin on the common thing and go burn something down. There's the let's write a letter to Congress. There's, let's hold a rally. There's all these different things that you can weaponize. You can weaponize a letter. You can weaponize your voice. You can have rants.
There's a lot of conversation today about weaponizing Twitter. Like Twitter's weaponized, or I mean, people say that about political campaigns.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. You can weaponize basically anything. What does it say? There's an old adage that says anything is a weapon if you swing it right. So,
I think that was Ani DeFranco. Any tool.
There you go. That's right.
Hold it right.
There you go. But why not weaponize a story? There's a lot of stories out there that are, we call them, you can call them. Oh my gosh, I totally blanked. What is it? Like, a fable, you can call them, you can call them metaphor. You can call them, God, I'm looking for a word. Oh man. Not a fable, not a metaphor. This is hilarious. This is the sort of thing that I think of at like 3 a.m. and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot that. That's
a tale? Is it a tale or
a tale? It's a like Pilgrim's Progress was a
allegory?
Allegory. Thank you. Okay, thank you. That was the word I was looking for. Allegory. So you can create these allegories. Well, problem with allegory is that it can come off very cheesy or it can come off very contrived. If it's not done extremely well. So, like for example, a short story I'm working on right now actually is looking to address a lot of Facebook trolls out there. And it's the idea that if we write a story, what if we wrote a story that said, you can be right, but if you present your correct ideas in the wrong way, it's still ultimately damaging to your cause. So I'm working on a story that kind of addresses that theme. And the whole point is I want to get people, after they read my short story, to go, you know what? Maybe we need to think twice about the way we go about presenting our ideas. Because you can be dead on about something, but if you cannot communicate your point in love and kindness and elegance with logic and rhetoric, if you cannot present your ideas well, it's not going to land. No one's going to listen to you. No one's going to care. And so not only do you want to present an idea well, but you also want to present an idea in such a way that other people can receive it and they can go and they can work with it and they don't feel attacked. Stories help people navigate everyday life. You don't want to write a story that's designed to really attack someone. You want to write a story that helps people think about the world around them so that they can navigate it better. I want to write awesome stories because I love good storytelling. I'm not out there to just like help people and change the world and stuff. I mean, that's cool if that happens, but the goal is, man, I really just want to write really good stories. Well, okay, if I want to write really good stories, how then do I write really good stories that matter and that make an impact and that really get a theme across? Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. No, I appreciate that. And I think that, just because something's weaponized, it could be a weapon for good, in the same way.
Absolutely, yeah.
A farming tool is for planting food. You can plant positive seeds. You have a course. You use LifterLMS to build a course about WordPress. Why did you decide to build for creatives or the artistic community a technology course?
Oh man. Okay. Thank you for asking that question. I love answering this question. Okay. So when so I'm a member of the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, SCBWI. And it's kind of an on-ramp, and it really introduces you to the world of publishing, editors, illustrators, other writers. I mean, I got my critique partners have all been through SCBWI. I've got really good writing friends through this organization. It's phenomenal. Well, I had the timing of it was curious. I had just finished building third-person creative, basically from nothing. I was like, I have no money. I had just gotten married. My wife is like, hey, I think you should create a blog. I was like, sweet. How do I do it? With like zero budget. And then I think it was like 11 weeks, 12 weeks later, I come up with a website. It has a theme on it. It's not a very good theme, but it's a theme. I think it was using Colorway. If you want to go find that theme and go, what? He was using that? It's like, don't do that. There's better themes out there, I promise. And I remember thinking, this was awful. I hope no one ever has to go through this again. Well, I was at this lunch through SCBWI, and a bunch of these people were talking about, man, we really need somebody to fill the seminar slot coming up, in a couple months.
And this is a seminar for writers and illustrators, right?
Writers and illustrators, right. For the local chapter in Bryan College Station, Texas, there's like 20 people, 30 people. I don't know how many are active attendees at the moment, but at the time, there was like 15, 20 people. So they give me 2 months, and I said, hey, I can create a course on how to build a website. And they're like, their eyes lit up, because they're all wanting author websites. They're wanting to create sites to promote their work and to talk about writing, talk about creativity, or illustrating. I was like, cool, I can help you build that. The problem is a lot of them were so focused on writing, they didn't have a technical background. So my degree is in computer engineering, and so I'm very used to solving technical problems. And I was like,
one quick question: why does that? If you're an artist, how did you end up in computer engineering, or is that a type of art too?
Wow. Okay, that's a complicated question. I think I could get shot if somebody said it's not an art.
Okay.
Man, I out of high school I wanted to be an engineer. I knew I wanted to be an engineer. I chased it. And then
engineering is an artisan thing. I mean,
and I don't regret it. I don't regret it. I think being an engineer, and I worked in industry for 6 years, and being an engineer taught me a lot about not only web development and problem solving there, but it taught me people skills. It taught me how to navigate deadlines. It taught me a lot about the inner workings of a software company. It's like, so I'm probably more kind to software guys than I'm like, oh, I get it, bro. You take all the time you need. I totally understand. But at the same time, I'm like, but really, when's it going to be done? Because I really need it. It's kind of a big deal. It's like, it's a little bit of both. And I'm like, oh, bless your heart. I know what you're going up against.
Sorry to derail your story. I just realized it's like liberal arts, fine art.
I am wordy as all get out. So yeah. I know that it's understood. I probably usually when people ask me questions, I say, okay, do you want the 2-minute version? I set a stopwatch for 2 minutes, and then like I'm more on point. So maybe we start doing that. Okay. So writing has always been a part of my life. Creativity has always been a part of my life. But you can't. But I had a desire to like make stuff and build things, and I didn't want I didn't want an occupation where I couldn't create my own ideas. So if you looked at drafting, I think is a good example. Somebody who majors in drafting, when they go into industry, they cannot present an architectural design unless a licensed architect signs off on that design. There's something very similar that happens in engineering. And if you don't have computer engineer somewhere in your degree, you can't create and present your own design. So I was like, I don't want to pigeonhole myself and put myself in a situation where I got to answer to somebody else. I want to have the final say. I want the training at least to have the final say. And so that's why I kind of chose that degree path. And for fun, I'm overclocking computers. I'm building computers for friends, and I'm like, man, at some point this is ridiculous. I need to make this my major rather than Never. I was in ocean. I started in ocean engineering, and that's a completely different story. And switched into computer engineering at Texas A&M. So, okay. So back to that first thread about the SCWI. So I create this course for SCWI, and I'm thinking in the back of my head, I love helping people. I love helping people realize their vision and realize their goals, and I want to help every single person that comes into that seminar. I want to equip them so that when they leave, they have something tangible and they have something that they can act on. That was very important.
Just to highlight that point, the course idea came out of an open slot at an in-person seminar that you had to fill and do a live presentation.
Yes, absolutely.
You wanted it to not just be good ideas, but have it be like super actionable and people walking away with something of value.
Yeah, so there's a lot of steps in building a website. I mean, you know this. There's a ton of steps. And I know that I knew that if I were to just build, if I were to build and it's not recorded, the seminar wasn't recorded. So if I just build a website live for somebody and I fly through it and it's not recorded, people's eyes are going to glaze over. They might catch the first 15 minutes of actionable, and it might be synthesized into actionable content, but everything past that is going to be lost on them. And I knew it. I knew it going in. I'm like, there is no way anybody's going to be able to retain the amount of information that I had to, Google, synthesize, apply, tweak, land on. I mean, what plugins I had to go to from the start. I mean, it was nuts. And I'm like, there's no way. So what I did is I created a Google Doc. And in that Google Doc, I went through, this is what hosting is. This is how you pick it out. These are the hosting companies that are out there. This is the one that I recommend. This is why you should go with them, and this is why you shouldn't go with them. I wanted to present a very unbiased view. This is what WordPress is. This is why WordPress is great. This is what an email list is. This is why an email list is great. This is how you integrate those two. This is the WordPress dashboard. And I walked through everything. I went through Gmail integration so that people can send emails from, like for me, I send from Avery at thirdpersoncreative.com. Well, truth be told, if you shoot an email to Avery at thirdpersoncreative.com, it goes to my personal Gmail inbox. How do you set that up?
I love it.
The course walks you through it,
As you're talking about curriculum design, I just want to highlight one of the real gems in here is you're not just teaching the why or the what or the how. You're teaching all three. Like, why is this host important? What do I recommend? Okay, here's how you get WordPress up and actually going on this host. So it's the why, what, how. I see a lot of courses are really lopsided or almost amputated, and they're all what, or they're all process, or they're all like why this is important, but they're missing the other legs of the stool. So the great job on your curriculum design.
Hey, thanks. Thanks. So so I created that Google Doc, and then I walked them through the Google Doc in the seminar. And then at the end of the seminar, I said, give me your email. Give me your email. Here, you've got the entire presentation. It's step by step. I'd already written it. I mean, it took me about a month to write the curriculum. It was a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie. It was
a month before the seminar or after the seminar?
Before the seminar. A month before the seminar, I spent probably 3 or 4 hours a day creating the curriculum. I mean, it was a lot. Now,
is this video content or slides?
No, it was screenshots. So every relevant screenshot of the hosting page, every relevant screenshot of WordPress. I mean, boxes. Click on this, then click on this, then click on this. It was click by click. I mean, if I
that's
made
a big thing. I just want to highlight another thing. It's really powerful, especially when you're teaching technology, to take the approach that Avery just said, which is no step skipped. He said click by click. It's so easy as an expert to just like jump from like hosting over to here, like all deep in the WordPress themes already set up. So
Absolutely.
I just want to highlight that.
Yeah, and so something that I wanted to do in the course is, because not everyone that takes my course is going to be, starting from nothing. So the course is 0 to WordPress. Well, not everyone starts from 0. So what I did when I heard of a LifterLMS, I shopped around for a lot of different learning platforms.
Do you remember how you heard about Lifter?
Oh, I Googled, man. I Googled it. Google showed me. Google showed me. I'm pretty sure that's how I landed on you guys. I really am. I looked at a lot of different options, and I looked at, okay, the cost, obviously, because I'm broke. How in the world do I pay for this thing? But I also looked at the extensibility, and I wanted, and this is tied to third person creatives as a greater vision. There's a reason I landed on thirdpersoncreative.com and not averyadamwhite.com. There's a reason.
Okay. So the difference between a personal brand and what we would call like a corporate or business brand or whatever you want to call it. Why did you not go with the personal brand?
Because I wanted to build something bigger than myself. I wanted, what's going to happen to Goins Rider when Jeff Goins retires? What's going to happen, but then what happens to Video Fruit when Brian Harris retires? One of those things is going to make a lot more sense to stick around than the other. No knocking on Jeff. I mean, the guy's doing great. He'll think of something. He's an entrepreneur. He'll think of something. He's awesome. Yeah. But I'm just saying, if you took those two things at face value today and you said, okay, Jeff got hit by a bus, what happens? It's like, and I didn't want that.
Same thing here. I mean, it's not Badgett LMS. It's LifterLMS.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Right.
I mean, there you go. It's like, okay, we're going to do it this way. So what I wanted, and what I want to do is I want to create an on-ramp for artists. So the idea behind third person creative and courses is I started to dream a little bit bigger. What do I bring to the table? Man, I can do a WordPress course. I've already got the curriculum. I know how to do the videos. I know what I'm talking about enough that I can either troubleshoot problems that arise or, I can spout it off the top of my head. I know how this stuff works. But as I work with these other artists, what if I reach out to my carpenter friend and say, hey, will you do an online course for me? Here's a WordPress course that I did. It's already doing well. You've got a platform to run on. And I created it as a course platform. And then I have a painter friend and I bring them in, or a sculptor. And then you bring in all of these different art forms that you're trying to stir conversation about the collisions between those creative mediums anyway. Why not create course content that also teaches the basics of those mediums? Because people want to learn new skills and create it. Like, yes, I'm a writer, but I love photography. And so I read websites like Photography Life because I want to learn how to I want to learn how to shoot better. So, I mean, I'm not awesome at photography. I'm just like, I'm still very much feeling it out. I'm going, okay, I've taken a few good pictures, but let's figure out how to be better. And then what happens if you start selling courses, right? I can go, well, my WordPress course kind of hopefully one day will pay for itself. But now if I can extend some grace to a writer friend or a painter friend and say, put a course on my website. I'll give you 70% of everything you make off of it, because I believe that painter doesn't need to be getting, okay, so here's a story to drive this home. Here's a story does way better than explanation. I sat down with a painter friend of mine. He's extremely talented. He's brilliant. His work has been featured in airports as kind of, when you get off the plane and there's like an artist featured and you're like, oh, that's amazing. And you're on the moving elevator, so you can only look at it for like 8 seconds. And you're like, wait, I really want to know what that was, but it's gone. He made it there. He's got his own website. He's got his stuff appears in galleries all over the world. He's brilliant. And I go, Eric, what do you, man, he works in College Station, Texas. And I said, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm working this day job at a photography studio shooting portraits of people's children. Now, I'm not knocking guys that go and shoot portraits of people's children. But my friend Eric had no business working a day job. That guy needs to be in his studio painting nonstop because A, that's what he loves. B, that's what the world needs because that's what makes him come alive. And then as a course content creator and as a platform owner, I'm asking myself the question, what can I do to empower people like that so that their dreams are realized? What can I do?
Full time.
Yeah, full time. I'm like, what could I do for Eric?
I just want to highlight, that spirit of service and not even having the answer like right off the bat, but just attacking the problem and asking the right questions for your target market or your audience. How can I help Eric? You're not thinking like, how much money can I make on the internet with my website? You're like, how can I help artists like Eric?
Yeah.
And I just want to highlight that because that's that's a mindset where the innovation comes from. If you're just like, how can I squeeze another dollar out of the internet? That's a scarcity mindset.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. I mean, and to be honest, it's not a very, so I recently read a book called How to Think Like a Spy.
Okay.
And in this book, the author talks about different games that people play. There's a zero-sum game, which is where in order for me to win, you have to lose. There's a positive sum game, which means that both sides have a perceived gain in the game that they're playing. And then there's a negative sum game where both sides are actively losing, but maybe one side is hoping they're not losing as bad as the other guy. Okay. And I think if you look at the idea and the business model of, well, I really want to give an awesome commission to artists where it's benefiting them more than it's benefiting me. I'm playing a zero-sum game, but I'm stacking it in their favor. I think that's service. When you define the rules and then you follow the rules that you define and you follow them in such a way that it actually benefits the other guy. In this case, it benefits the creator, benefits the creative. And that's the heart of what I want to do. It's like, man, if I can make, we'll say X dollars on Zero to WordPress, that's my course. I can give myself the same deal that I give my other, anybody that wants to build a course under me. I give myself the same deal. And hopefully the work stands on its own. And I know that I can teach people. I know that I'm a good teacher. It's something that I know that it's just a gift that I have. I'm not saying that to be arrogant. I'm saying that because I'm acknowledging, okay, you know what? I'm a good teacher. I'm not the best teacher in the world. I know that, but I know I'm not the worst. Anyways, I really just want people to know that, man, there's a way you can make money as a creative. There's a way that you can overcome these technical hurdles and you can really get to a point where you're free to create. I think that's really important.
I just want to highlight that when you select your target market, they have their challenges, and this is me putting my anthropologist hat on. They have their stigmas and their self-fulfilling prophecies in the way the world sees them. So if an artist is in the stigma of starving artists, sure, and you come in to serve that market, and your number one objection is for them not to starve and to step into their, genius full time and feel good about it. Like that's a great. You're literally attacking the stigma that's against them. So you're kind of like the knight or at least the champion of their cause. Yeah. Which is super cool. The other thing you mentioned is there's a difference between being a course creator and having the publisher mindset. Yeah. I just want to highlight how you didn't just jump straight to the publisher mindset. I'm going to be the Udemy of artists and I'm going to bring course or creatives together to make all this. You led by example. You leaned into one of your interests and specialties where you can help others. So you're a course creator, and then you have something to show people when you pitch them, hey, you want to do your course on painting or metal work or whatever. You have an example. You're leading by example. Yeah. And the last question I wanted to ask you, which is something we talk about a lot, especially when we have a course creator and entrepreneur like yourself on the show, and a visionary, is I call it the stack. So courses are cool. Yeah. But you can also do other things. Like you have a blog. So you have like a media. It's not just like it's not like, oh, I have this little blog. I publish on it like, a couple times a year. Like you actively focus energy on the blog and writing and getting cool ideas out there. You're looking into forums. You're looking into having like an online art gallery to, again, solve another problem for your target market besides education and besides, fresh ideas. can you tell us more about your stack? Like what is this ecosystem you're building around the creative?
Sure. Okay. For this, I'm going to set a 2-minute, I'm going to start a stopwatch for 2 minutes. This is for your listeners' sake, not just for me, because I can ramble for 1,000 years. It's ridiculous, man. If you ever need a guy that can soak up a lot of time, man, hey, I can be that guy, you know? All right, here we go. So, all right, 2 minutes.
It started with the blog, right?
Very good. Yeah, absolutely. So the blog is the centerpiece of the website ecosystem. It's thirdpersoncreative.com, and it is about creating a community of artists that wield the power of the story against injustice, passivity, and if I could memorize my own about page, that would be phenomenal, but I don't.
I think you said something about fighting a cause.
Injustice, prejudice is the word that I always forget when I'm reciting my mission statement, right? This is the problem with like creating mission statements. Like 3 years ago, I think is when I drafted that, and so it's like, oh wait, what does my about page think? Okay, but it's about using stories well to create community. Is really what the website's about. That's what the blog's about. The blog lives on thirdpersoncreative.com, and it's the kind of the mothership that everything's kind of docked to. Now, that's where people sign up to the newsletter. It's where people can contact me, and it's how people can navigate between the other parts of that ecosystem. I had a minute 18. Dadgum, I gotta fly. Okay, so then you have the courses, which we've already talked at length about the courses. That's going to be the
school,
the platform from which other creatives can contribute their own coursework, as well as where my course lives, and people can go there to learn about different mediums and actually apply some of these ideas that they may talk about in the next part, which is the forums. So the forums are there to facilitate conversation, not just amongst creatives about medium. So if you were to visit my forums right now, you would see that it's actually divided by medium. So you can go into forum for film or writing or painting or music, and there's like an audio visual section. I mean, it's like it's broken apart by niche. But the goal is you want to encourage people, okay, yes, ask your question on your niche so that you can get your question answered by people that know something about your topic. But then visit the other niches. I don't know how to say it. Anyways, visit the other parts of the components of the forums and start engaging in the conversation with other people from other mediums.
Quick question. What forum software are you using?
What forum software?
Yeah.
Can you guess?
Is it WordPress, BBPress?
Yes, BBPress, okay, baby. Cool. Yeah, vanilla. Sure. Hey, yeah, which one's free, and which one can I throw just a tar load of CSS at to bend to my will? Yeah, that's how I solve. Yeah, that's how we do it, man. That's how we do it.
Cool. So, just had to ask. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sure. And then I've got what's the last one?
The District.
The District, man. The District is an online art gallery. So I've tied BuddyPress to, like, it also exists on the District so that artists can have individual profiles so they can promote their own websites. And again, that harkens back to wanting to create a space where artists can promote themselves. And hey, if you left the third person creative ecosystem to go check out an artist's website, I love that. That's awesome. I count that as a win for me, because I help that creative reach their goal, which is, get more traffic, hopefully get a buyer, and they're one step closer to being independent from, doing what they have to do. And then, of course, there's the lovely GDPR privacy notice that we all had to write, last month.
That's awesome.
There's that, yeah. Okay, but that's it. That's the ecosystem. And I was at 4 minutes, but you asked me a question, so
Nice.
I probably went 45 seconds over. So I'm going to say your question took 15 seconds, and but hey, it's better than 12 minutes.
That's fantastic. Well, Avery, I really wanted to just thank you for coming on the show. For those of you listening, check out thirdpersoncreative.com. If you're in the Lifter ecosystem and you don't know WordPress yet, go check out Avery's course, Zero to WordPress. because in order to do Lifter, you need to know WordPress. So you got to start with some WordPress knowledge. Yeah. And I really got a lot out of this show. I think it's an excellent case study. So many things I see the DNA of other projects I've seen further down the road when they look back. They're doing a lot of things you're doing. Yeah. They're creating their curriculum before they went to the LMS software. They're doing it like with a live audience, to validate, to help figure stuff out. They're building a stack around a person, trying to serve their audience, not focused more on like, how do I make the most money or increase conversions? Even like you're talking about, like you're happy when people leave the district website to go to this artist website. It's all good. It's an outbound link. They left your website, but you're serving your community. Absolutely. That's the number one thing. You just said so many like awesome things that I've seen in projects that work out well. And you just have a vision for cross-pollination and bringing people together across niches or niches or however we want to say it. So Avery, thank you so much for coming on the show. Where else can the good people of the internet connect with you? Yeah, that's great. So I'm on Twitter so you get a TP_creative. You can follow me there. And then I have a Facebook page. You can go check it out. So to put a little bit of backing behind kind of what we've been talking about, I've said verbally that I want to serve creatives. So I tell you what, if you're watching this right now, you can email me at Avery, Avery, at thirdpersoncreative.com. And you can say, hey, you told Chris Badgett that if I emailed you and asked for 75% off of your course, I would get it. Where's my coupon? I will love to send you a coupon. I'd love for you to take the course. I'd love to hook you up and get you rolling on it. So please email me, shoot me an email. I said that's the same thing. I just said it twice. And I'll send you a coupon, and then that way you can get the ball rolling on it. I'd love to do that for your listeners and love to do that for you guys. That'd be great. But yeah, you can get at Twitter, Facebook. I'm on Instagram, TP_creative as well. Although I don't really post to that a whole lot. So yeah, Twitter's where it's at, and then you can jump on the website and subscribe to the email list. That'd be awesome. That's awesome. Well, that's very generous of you, Avery. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And we'll have to do another one with you in a couple of years and see where all this goes. And, I'd love it, man. That'd be awesome. That'd be rad. Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks. Hey, thank you.